Welcome to St. Luke's Health Now, a show dedicated to giving you the most up-to-date information on innovative medicine. I'm your host, Ashley Russo, and we have a very special and unique episode this evening. We're going back in time to discuss St. Luke's University Health Network's history and to celebrate their 150th anniversary of providing high-quality medicine in our area. Stay tuned. This is St. Luke's Health Now. Coming up on this episode of Health Now, an in-depth look at St. Luke's University Health Network's 150 years of commitment to our community. Stay tuned. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. We have an accomplished panel of guests joining us tonight. Joining us first is Carol Copeland. Carol serves as the president of St. Luke's University Hospital in Bethlehem and the chief nursing officer for St. Luke's University Health Network. She served St. Luke's for 35 years and has nearly 40 years of experience in the nursing field. Thanks for being here, Carol.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you for having us.
So St. Luke's was founded 150 years ago in 1872. Back then, the closest hospital was 50 miles away in Philadelphia. Why was it so important to establish a hospital in this region? And really, it was the first hospital ever established in this region.
So I think, actually, when you go back in time and think about what it was like here at that time, it was a very heavily industrial area. There were a number of railroads. There was a zinc quarry not too far from us in Jersey. And there were also a number of mines up in the Wyoming Valley. So that when indeed someone was injured, they literally had to take a train and transfer trains to be able to get down to Philadelphia for that type of care. And everything was very manual there. Braking was not automatic. They had to manually do those kinds of things. So there were significant injuries in the area, and chances of survival were greater if we could treat them here locally.
It is amazing to think of what it must have been like to have those high-risk jobs and no care nearby. So St. Luke's was quite an innovator. Thanks for being here, Carol.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Joining our panel next is Dr. Jeffrey Jerry. Dr. Jerry serves as the Senior Vice President of Medical and Academic Affairs at St. Luke's University Health Network. An active infectious disease practitioner, he's held numerous hospital administrative positions at St. Luke's for more than 40 years. Dr. Jerry also serves as the host for St. Luke's award-winning Talk with Your Doctor television program. Thanks for being here, Dr. Jerry.
It's a pleasure to be here, Ashley. Thank you.
I understand that Dr. William Estes was the first superintendent, director, and chief surgeon. He wore a lot of hats, kind of like you, at St. Luke's Hospital. Tell us about him. How has he pioneered so many sanitary practices, and really he's kind of the father of industrial medicine?
He was a remarkable man who actually grew up on a plantation in the antebellum South and then got a medical degree in his teens from the University of Virginia. He got a second medical degree from New York University and then did an internship at Mount Sinai Hospital, where he learned that there was a whole field known as antisepsis. So what he ended up doing is to use that knowledge and developed a system where instruments could be sterilized and where a number of different operative techniques also involve sterilization. And he also then developed an area where he could actually prevent all kinds of injuries, as Carol had mentioned, because these were the issues that were going on with the railroads and the steel mills, and prevention was much better than cure. And he became the first superintendent and surgeon-in-chief of St. Luke's Hospital when he was only in his 20s.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Jerry. Let's meet our final panelist, Dr. Hal Follander. Dr. Follander serves as a Senior Vice President and Chief Medical Strategy Officer for St. Luke's University Health Network, as well as Network Chairman, Department of Radiology. He came to St. Luke's as Chief of Radiology in 1999, developing St. Luke's as an international GE healthcare show site for imaging and information technology equipment. Welcome, Dr. Follander.
Thanks, Ashley.
St. Luke's embraced research and medical innovation from the very beginning. Tell us about some of St. Luke's earliest innovations and why that was so significant to the way the hospital has grown over the years.
Well, actually, dating back to 1898, St. Luke's was the first hospital, certainly non-college affiliated, that hired a pathologist and a biologist to work at the hospital. And since then, we've expanded into a whole array of of new and different innovations, like in our cardiac cath labs, we perform procedures that are able to minimally invasively repair patients' heart valves. But one of the major areas of innovation has been in orthopedic research. So dating back to Dr. Estes, he was, as a surgeon, was very active in orthopedic trauma and actually placed, as Carol Copeland said, first aid kits on trains. That program has now advanced to the level where our network is one of the largest in the state of Pennsylvania, where we do approximately 11,000 contacts with trauma patients throughout the network. So obviously that's grown significantly.
Thank you all for such informative background information on how St. Luke's was founded. Up next, we'll dig deeper into the commitment to education and technology over the years. Stay tuned. We'll be back after a short break. You're watching St. Luke's Health Now.
St. Luke's is a not-for-profit hospital. Back in 1985, we were one hospital. Now we have 14 campuses and 17,000 employees. It's 150 years. It's special. It's a milestone. Everything revolves around the culture, but what makes the culture are the people. Culture is important to how we take care of the patients. If we didn't have nurses, we wouldn't have a hospital system. If we didn't have doctors, we wouldn't have a hospital system. All this goes into the culture and goes into what makes an institution like St. Luke's with 17,000 people run. You need everybody. All we want to do is take care of our patients, treat our employees well. When you do all those things the right way, you're going to have community you can raise your children in, you can feel safe. The people around me are what really make the organization successful.
Welcome back. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Ashley Russo, and this is Health Now. We want to thank our viewers for watching our program tonight and providing us with questions for our panel, which we'll get to later in the show. Joining me is a talented panel of medical professionals, Carol Copeland, Dr. Jeffrey Jerry, and Dr. Hal Follander. We've started to discuss St. Luke's 150-year history. Now let's continue the conversation about how the network has been committed to education and technology from the very beginning. Dr. Jerry, St. Luke's is not new to dealing with pandemics and outbreaks. Tell us a little bit about the history of St. Luke's in this regard and how it better prepared the network to deal with COVID-19.
One of the first things in the modern era was polio. And in the 1950s, St. Luke's was actually the first hospital in the region to actually have a polio clinic and the use of iron lungs, which were necessary in order to actually breathe for a patient before there were sophisticated ventilators. If we were to then go to the next major pandemic, which was AIDS, in the 1980s, we were the first hospital to be dealing with AIDS patients and the first hospital to actually establish a specific program for dealing with children with AIDS. And at that time, there was a lot of fear, and we were right at the forefront in establishing a place where they could feel safe and get treated. Then we would fast forward right now to the 1990s. There was a major hepatitis outbreak in our community. So we actually were right up front in getting that very well organized so that people could get the proper evaluation and treatment. And we published an article on how a hospital can handle a pandemic like that, or in that situation, an epidemic, in a very organized way, which still to this day remains the Pathmark article on how to do that.
Well, I know that you and the team at St. Luke's were really instrumental in fighting COVID-19 in not only an effective way, but really in an organized way. And I think that that seems to be what's so critical in a pandemic situation. Carol, we've talked about Dr. Estes and we've talked about doctors here. You are a nurse. You have been a nurse for 40 years. In 1884, St. Luke's established its nursing school. It was only the fourth in the country, and it's still to this day the longest continuously operating nursing school. So tell us a little bit about the establishment of the nursing school and how important it is to this day to our community.
Dr. Estes was instrumental in starting our School of Nursing here way back in 1884. He brought with him from New York a strong support of nursing and the value of nursing in maintaining the patients while they were hospitalized. So when he arrived, there weren't enough patients in the hospital to maintain an educational program. He also recognized that we needed to have women's and children's services at the hospital before he could introduce a nursing program. So he obtained the funding to build all of the women's and children's pavilions, and then he started the nursing school. So it grew over time, and under his leadership they went from 9 students to 42 students. And each one of them was valued in the community, as they are today.
And it's such a popular program. I know so many people that, especially through the pandemic, who said, you know what, I'm going to change my life. I want to go back and help people. I want to go to the nursing school at St. Luke's. And having been a patient myself, I have to say it's second to none. They're second to none, the nursing staff. Dr. Follander, imaging changed the face of medicine, right? You are a radiologist by trade, and it's so important to treat and diagnose things early, and imaging is really what allowed us to do that. Tell me how St. Luke's was an early adopter of X-ray technology, and why is it so critical to patient health and overall outcomes?
Well, actually, it was in 1913 that St. Luke's employed the first radiology facilities utilizing X-ray, whereas in most other areas of the country, that X-ray really wasn't deployed until about the 1930s or so. And that really was the beginning of what would be life-changing diagnoses that were made with imaging techniques.
It really is incredible when you talk about the history of St. Luke's to see how many early innovations and inventions were adopted and put to use, and that's still happening today. So this is great information from all our panelists, but we're not done yet. After the break, we'll learn more about the growth and innovations that have made St. Luke's an important part of our community. You're watching St. Luke's Health Now. Stay tuned.
St. Luke's has been a cornerstone of the Lehigh Valley for over 150 years. It was originally founded to provide industrial workers with immediate local access to care. In the last century and a half, while healthcare has transformed dramatically, St. Luke's dedicated physicians, employees, and volunteers have proven they can respond to changes with exciting, innovative, and bold healthcare solutions. St. Luke's ability to deliver the highest quality care at the lowest cost is truly transformational and will ensure our future.
Welcome back to St. Luke's Health Now, a show dedicated to giving you the most up-to-date information on innovative medicine. I'm your host, Ashley Russo, and we have an interesting show for you tonight. We're celebrating St. Luke's 150th anniversary. In case you're just tuning in, I'm joined by 3 St. Luke's medical professionals, Carol Copeland, Dr. Jerry, and Dr. Follander. Thank you all for being here. In the first part of the program, we talked about the history of St. Luke's Hospital. Now let's talk about how it's grown into a network with over 17,000 employees, 14 campuses, and over 300 outpatient sites. That is really incredible. Dr. Jerry, why do you think St. Luke's has remained such a significant resource in the community over these 150 years?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the history of innovation. And when we go back to Dr. Estes, right at the very beginning, when the hospital was established and when he became superintendent, he incorporated the ideas that he learned in New York that were from Europe in terms of having different pavilions. This was actually started by Florence Nightingale. And the idea was that you wouldn't cross-contaminate patients, so that children were kept in a separate pavilion. Women who were going to give birth were in a separate pavilion. Contagious disease were in a separate pavilion. The facility was kept immaculately clean. There was a lot of sunlight and fresh water, and all of those things, remember this was in a pre-antibiotic era, were very important. And then we can flash forward to the whole idea of innovation, even as far if we were to take a look at robotics. We were the first hospital in the region and one of the first in the state to actually put a robot in, when our competitive hospitals were saying that it was a toy. And obviously, it is hardly a toy.
It's really here to stay, right?
It's here to stay
is in every
and
field.
well established, and we were obviously the first. So the tradition of innovation has served us well and continues to serve us well as we battle even the COVID-19 pandemic.
You know, you mentioned the nursing school, Carol, but we also have a medical school at St. Luke's, Temple St. Luke's Medical School, and it was established really with further innovation, the thought being to train the physicians of tomorrow. Tell us a little bit about how important this has been to the growth and innovation of St. Luke's in the last, say, 10 or 15 years.
When I think about our medical school, it was developed for the very same reason our nursing school lives on today, and that is that we're preparing for the future. So we are educating the physicians that we'll need in the future, and we're prioritizing those individuals who are more likely to reside here in the Valley and take care of the communities that we live in. And so it is an incredibly important part of our health network. It does keep us challenged in terms of innovation and knowledge and continuing the field of the growth of the field of healthcare.
And more than just the nursing school and the medical school, which is pretty amazing in and of themselves, there's the graduate medical education program, and that I understand is growing in leaps and bounds with more residents, more fellows. How does that help keep everyone kind of on their toes and really provide the best care possible, big city medicine in a smaller community?
Sure, our graduate medical educations with our residents and our fellows further the development of healthcare in the Valley, and they keep us challenged in a very positive way. And it's growing not only in numbers, but in the number of campuses that have the benefit of having our residents and fellows practice in those areas.
Wonderful point. Dr. Follander, St. Luke's is an international GE show site. What does that mean, and how does that benefit the care our patients receive?
So the show site opportunity is a partnership that allows us to do research and development with General Electric on some of the newest technologies. But even prior to that relationship, St. Luke's was still a major radiological innovator. In 1978, we deployed the first CAT scan in the region, and subsequently have deployed the latest versions of CAT scans throughout our entire network. But as part of the show site relationship, we did the research and development with a device called flat panel technology. What does that mean? Well, it's the transition from what people knew as conventional imaging that occurred with X-ray film to what's called digital imaging. So the way people used to use Kodak cameras, and now they capture those same images with digital imaging. We were actually the first hospital in the world to utilize that technology, and we actually got the FDA approvals for that technology to be used in the United States. We then developed new iterations of that technology in what was called a hybrid OR, where we combined new imaging technologies in a surgical environment to really minimize the use of open surgery as much as possible. So we were able to lead in all of those different areas. But in addition to the technology itself that the patients actually see, I think one of the most important innovations was we worked with General Electric to develop what we call low-dose imaging. So all of our doctors pay a lot of attention to the amount of radiation that our patients receive. So our patients can be confident, even if they have multiple X-rays and multiple CAT scans, that they are receiving the lowest possible radiation dose that can still result in an accurate diagnosis.
It is amazing to see that technology, and every year it seems to come on more and faster, and it does ultimately help in patient outcomes. Dr. Jerry, St. Luke's was named the #1 major teaching hospital in the country, which is really no surprise. How is the pandemic and COVID-19 an opportunity to continue teaching even in the face of such adversity?
A lot of it had to do with our culture, and I might want to actually pay homage right now to our CEO, Richard Anderson. And he established a culture where there would be a highly communicative culture between every branch in the hospital. And this was not a top-down thing. It wasn't all the information coming from the largest hospital to the small hospital. We were able to organize ourselves very quickly into 26 different groups, every discipline. And by doing so, we made sure that everybody communicated, but we didn't actually require micromanagement. And everybody was assigned certain tasks, and then they would come together and we would share that information and add to it. With that in mind, we were right from the beginning way ahead internationally. Let me give you some of the examples. We were written up in the Wall Street Journal because we were the first institution to use 3D printing to actually extend our supply of personal protective equipment. Right now that's considered just a routine matter, but we were the actual first. We designed our own masks at that point in time that were highly efficient in protecting our patients as well as our staff. We were the representative of the use of Teams from Microsoft, not just nationally, internationally. They chose St. Luke's as the example on how to use Teams during this pandemic so that we could efficiently communicate and not have to have face-to-face meetings which would potentially endanger a number of different individuals. With all of these things, we also had the earliest treatment in terms of monoclonal antibodies in the area, as well as a number of other endeavors. Our results were outstanding right from the beginning. We knew right almost from the top that we didn't want to be putting our patients on ventilators early on. We got a lot of criticism from major academic centers for that, and then it was proven that we were absolutely right, and now that's considered to be the way to go. All of these things were very innovative. A lot of them have been published, they've been looked at, and we are considered the national leader. We advise the vast majority of the schools in the area. We also have talked to the Department of Health in Pennsylvania to establish a core group of people to give them advice. That came from us, and we're part of that core group. So when we have been pointed out as a leader, it isn't only regionally, it's nationally and actually internationally. It served us well, and most importantly, it serves our patients well.
And so much to be proud of, and so amazing for our community here in the Lehigh Valley. So thank you all for that great discussion. Up next, what the future of the network looks like with questions from our viewers. Stick with us. You're watching St. Luke's Health Now.
Start moving again. You can trust St. Luke's to provide excellence in orthopedic care. St. Luke's is the region's leader in robotic orthopedic surgery for knee replacements and offers the latest hip navigation technology using digital guidance for hip replacement surgery. Orthopedic innovations that allow for new levels of precision and safety while advancing patient care. St. Luke's, the orthopedic care you trust, now more than ever.
Welcome back to St. Luke's Health Now. I'm your host, Ashley Russo. A special thank you to our outstanding panelists. We've had a great conversation about St. Luke's 150 years providing care in our community. Now we'll discuss the future of the hospital, and then we'll read some audience questions. You guys ready?
Absolutely.
All right, Dr. Jerry, when you think about the future of medicine in terms of research, innovation, therapies, what gets you excited?
Several different things that I think are really very prominent. The first is personalized medicine, and that is we're going to be able to look at the makeup of a given individual and design therapy that is specific for that individual, as well as preventive measures that might be important that that person might be particularly prone to. And the second is advancement in microsurgery. We talked about how we were first in robotics. There is a future right now ahead of us where I think the vast majority of surgery will be promoted through very small incisions or through the vessels. We're already way ahead of that right now, but that's only going to continue.
It's really exciting stuff to be coming down the pike. Carol, what would your advice be to anyone who's looking to get into nursing or healthcare for that matter? What's your best piece of advice for them?
Nursing for anyone who is interested in the helping field or the supportive fields is a wonderful opportunity. It truly does blend kindness and caring and compassion with intellect because it is a very rigorous position. When we talk about Dr. Estes and we talk about all of these specialties, or whether we're talking about the past or the present or the future, nursing is the one constant in all of that. Nurses will always be needed within hospitals in all specialties, so it provides wonderful opportunities. Someone like St. Luke's or an organization like St. Luke's actually provides tuition support and benefit so that you can work at an institution and get assistance with paying for your education. So it's a wonderful opportunity.
So encouraging for people who might be looking to get into the field of medicine and healthcare and may not know where to turn. St. Luke's really gives support for that. Dr. Follander, what do you see as the future of medical innovation, and what role will St. Luke's play in that? You mentioned so many amazing things that they've done over this 150 years. What do the next 150 look like?
One of the most exciting technologies is something called fusion imaging, where we can take images from potentially an MRI, combine them on one screen with images from an angiogram while it's actually being performed on a patient on a table, which then allows us to do much more accurate diagnosis. And then, as Jeff described, minimally invasive imaging. We can use those images to guide our technology to make very precise incisions and very accurately deal with potential pathology, lesions inside of patients. So we've taken what used to be open surgery and changed it by using all of these technological devices to do much more accurate and as I said, much more precise treatment of those abnormalities.
And every patient likes to hear that they may not have to have a big surgery that keeps them in the hospital for many days, so that's great. There's no doubt that the future is bright at St. Luke's, especially with dedicated leaders like yourselves. So continuing to train medical professionals and keep the technology forefront is really important. All right, now we've got some questions from our audience. You ready?
Sure are.
All right, Dr. Follander, I'll start with you.
Sure.
One viewer writes, "Congratulations to St. Luke's for being here for 150 years. Can you discuss how St. Luke's proactively drives change?"
Hire talented physicians who have a fire in their gut for their specialties and their subspecialties, and then provide them with the support that they need to develop their careers, because those are the extraordinary doctors who will lead us into the future. And our jobs are to remain agile, to encourage their dynamism, and let those future leaders grow and develop to treat our patients of the future.
Excellent. Dr. Jerry, what do you attribute St. Luke's ongoing success to, its ability to constantly provide great health care, not just once in a while, but consistently for 150 years? What do you attribute that to?
The major thing is a focus on quality. If you don't have quality, nothing else counts. And we have been absolutely focused on being in the top decile on any measurable type of situation, and we've been very successful in that regard. We've been named at one of the top 100 hospitals or 120 hospitals in the world, actually, by Newsweek very recently. We've also been, by IBM Watson, identified as the top teaching hospital in the country and one of the top 15 health networks in the country. That's very important because it's not a popularity contest. It's not something that you can opt in or opt out. It has nothing to do with votes. They look at a whole variety of different parameters, and they've identified us as being right at the head of that. Very recently, there is an organization known as the Leapfrog Group. The Leapfrog Group measures hospital outcomes and quality. All of our hospitals are rated as A. No other hospital in the area can say that, and in fact, within 2 states, we're the only hospital that has actually had that kind of designation over the years. So all of these things can assure our population that they're getting the very best in health care.
Excellent news for everyone in this community. Speaking of community, Carol, St. Luke's is such a fabric of the community here in the Lehigh Valley. They also do a lot to give back. Can you tell me a little bit about how St. Luke's puts the community of the Lehigh Valley first?
We have really very excellent clinics that provide care. We also do a lot of community outreach to our local schools, to our local long-term care facilities, and many different ways that we can provide support to our actual communities.
Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for tuning in. For more information on the history of St. Luke's University Health Network, please visit their website at sluhn.org or call 1-866-ST. Luke's. I'm Ashley Russo. This is St. Luke's Health Now. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, be well, and remember, it's important to focus on your health now.